Today, I'm sitting down with an actor who has a hugely eclectic CV. He's been a Troy boy, a Hulk hunk, a Munich man. I'm basically getting these all out of the way before I sit down with him, because that would be awkward. A chopper chappie. I'm done. Cantona, Morecambe, Idle and Clapton. To that short but distinguished list of Erics, we're adding another name today, and the man himself has picked 4 of his favourite films for us. Bana. Eric Bana. Follow me. Episode 4, Season 3 of The Guest List features a Hollywood A-lister who enjoys leather and tinkering with engines in his garage. He's played England's most famous king like a rock and roll star and was most recently seen as a Kirk and Spock bothering intergalactic villain. But today, he's firmly in the present as he joins me on The Guest List. Eric Bana, hello and welcome to The Guest List.
Thanks, Alex. Good to be here.
Thank you for joining us today. So you're busy at the moment. You're on the promotional tour, as it were, of Love the Beast.
Ooh, the nerves are up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
It's a passion project, I'd say. You've directed, produced, you star in it as well, and it's about your love for a car.
Yeah, I'm always wary of the word passion project, I must say.
Okay.
Because I always feel like it's a description of a project someone would only make for themselves. And in fact, this is probably the opposite, because I really only wanted to make it if I felt like it was going to say something to people who weren't into cars.
600 horsepower, so broadly the same as you would get in a Ferrari Enzo.
Thereabouts.
Are you mad?
Of course, you've made it for other people to enjoy, because you can't very well play it to your car. I mean, your car can't watch it and go, oh, that's nice. Thanks, Eric. But what is it about cars that is such an appeal to you?
There wasn't a moment that I remember getting into cars. It was just something that was sort of in my blood, and I don't think you ever know where that comes from. It's just either there or it's not. I've owned this car my whole life, but I don't actually feel like it's my car. I feel like it belongs really to the 4 friends that have worked on it and everybody else who's contributed to it over the years.
6 left, caution crest, long 2 right, 100. Car up here.
I don't want to give too much away. You do end up rather damaging the car at one point, and I think I'm right in thinking the first thing you say is, "I'm so sorry" to your navigator.
Yeah, it was just a instant reaction. My navigator, who is my best friend.
Good luck, mate.
I've known him my whole life, and we convinced ourselves that we would never crash in one of these rallies, and to finally do it. And the apology is as much about, sorry for putting your life at risk as it is, then it sort of dawns on you that you've smashed the car. So it is that sort of moment where you realise that it hasn't really gone to plan.
Hey, so you've taken some time out to pick 4 movies that you'd like to recommend other people see. So thank you for that. And
no worries.
If we might take a look at the first movie that you've picked, which is the most expensive black and white film ever made, Schindler's List. What is it about that film that you've enjoyed and you'd recommend to other people?
It's a combination of Spielberg at his very best, but the one thing, there's an amazing marriage that's going on there, and I think you touched on the black and white element, which is such an important part of the film. But it's also the first time that Stephen and Janusz Kaminski, the cinematographer, got together on a project, and his photography in the film, all the performances, the writing, just everything about it. I just think it's a really beautiful, very emotional, dramatic film.
It's Hebrew from the Talmud. It says, whoever saves one life saves the world entire.
Now, as you say, it's a film of astounding performances, but in my opinion, and I wonder if you'll agree, none more so than Ralph Fiennes as the evil commandant, one of cinema's most notorious villains.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those performances that really stands out because I think it's great when someone can play a villainous type character that you can't take your eyes off.
Look at me. Don't forget who you are working for now.
Spielberg picked up the Oscar for Best Director for this film, and of course you worked with him yourself on Munich. How did that come about?
It was very bizarre, you know. I received a phone call saying that he wanted to meet with me, and at the time he was shooting The Terminal out in the desert in California, and I was actually passing through LA on another project, and you know, jumped at the chance and hopped in the rental car and drove a few hours out into the desert.
Fast, I imagine.
Pretty fast,
yeah.
you know. I had to be there for the lunch break, so I wasn't going to stuff that one up. And we just sat down and talked, and I wasn't sure exactly what it was going to be about. And at the end, he just said, "Look, the guy that leads this mission, his name is Avner, and you know, I think you'd be great as Avner." And I walked away, and still really not quite sure what any of that meant. I think that, you know, the brain is sort of way out of sync with the words at that point.
Did you answer like that second, or did you walk away and go, "I'm going to need to think about this"?
Well, I wasn't quite sure what was going on, and I spent the next sort of 3 hours driving back to LA just kind of thinking I'd woken up and had some bizarre dream, and I was waiting for the alarm to go off, you know.
Interestingly, to go back to your interest in cars, Schindler's List has a connection to my first car, because obviously the movie was about the Nazis. Hitler requested that Porsche design a car for the German army, which turned out to be the Volkswagen Beetle, which was my first car. It was custard yellow with blue doors and a brown patch on one side.
Blue doors?
So, yeah.
Both doors blue?
Both doors blue, yeah.
That's highly unusual.
Symmetry, yeah.
One door blue, I'd go, you've had a little panel damage. But
no.
2 doors blue, that's an artistic choice.
I'd like to call it a babe magnet. It wasn't.
Did it work?
No, if anything, if babes were indeed magnets themselves, then it was the same pole as them. They were more repelled from the car. I could drive
Note
down.
to self, yellow Beetle, blue doors, not good.
Right, time to take a look at the next movie you've recommended for us, and that is Michael Clayton.
I got a situation, a big problem.
I spent 12% of my life defending the reputation of a deadly weed killer.
You got everybody fooled, don't you? Everybody but you.
I'm not the guy that you kill. I'm the guy that you buy.
I tend to, when I'm watching a legal thriller, veer more towards the kind of popcorny, blockbustery The Firm or Runaway Jury. So while I like Michael Clayton, I'm interested to know what it is about the film that you love.
I think it's becoming a kind of rarer film. I mean, I just absolutely loved it. I thought it was Clooney's best film.
You are a legend.
I am Shiva, the god of death.
Let's get out of Milwaukee. We'll talk about it.
The writing, I think, is fantastic. All the performances are great. Tilda is amazing in it, as is Mr. Wilkinson.
Tom Wilkinson.
Tom Wilkinson.
Sorry, I thought we were going to do a jazz number
Yeah.
then. It's just like a musical, perhaps.
The last place you want to see me is in court.
I'm not the enemy.
Then who are you?
Those types of thrillers, especially now as we're sitting here in late 2009, are getting harder and harder to make and harder to get up. So I guess it's an appreciation for what they managed to achieve there, and it was just probably my favourite film that year.
Would it be fair to say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there is a similarity between your career and George Clooney's in the sense that he's taken very eclectic roles. For every romantic comedy, there's a sort of political drama or a thriller, and you've done the same.
I think, you know, as I look back on it now, there's probably, you know, more variety than I thought I'd get away with, to be honest. But for me, it's a lot of fun because I like to move around and do different things and work in different size movies, different size roles.
And you also have an interesting balance in the sense that, I don't know if it's still the case, but there was a period where you liked to do sort of just one movie a year, allowing you sort of months to return home, spend it with your family.
I think it was a bit of an urban myth that came out of, you know, a period there where I worked on a lot of big films, and you just literally couldn't do more than one a year. You know, you'd spend sort of 3 or 4 months preparing, and then you'd spend 5 or 6 months shooting. And for a while there, my sort of average was about 1 a year, and I sort of hadn't stopped working. So it's probably changed in the last few years because the size of the films has been a little different, and done a couple of more sort of supporting roles here and there. So it's probably bumped the average up a little bit.
Well, in terms of like you say, I mean, you like to do different roles, jump around. the other Berlin girl that you were in, which I'm fascinated because having watched the documentary, Love the Beast, you know, and you're an Aussie guy, a man. Aussie men are sort of men's men. How was it acting in tights?
Well, I see it as a completely masculine thing.
Yeah?
It's similar to a race suit. You know, it's flame-proof. They're flame-proof. I discovered on set.
How did you discover that? What were you doing?
Well, it's a long story. But yeah, there are some similarities there.
Yeah?
Between Henry VIII and going motor racing, I think. Working with Natalie and Scarlett and, you know, remaining cool-headed, there are some similarities.
Okay. Eric, just remember, you're in a race suit. You're not in tights. You're in a race suit. It's a race suit. I like that. That's good. And I appreciate that. My mum made me wear thick blue wool tights under my school trousers in winter when I was a kid.
Did anyone see them?
No. In fact,
I'm not sure about it now.
I'm not sure why I told you that. Well, that is it for part 1 of the guest list, but join me in part 2 when we'll be talking more favourite films from Mr. Eric Bana. See you in a moment. Hello and welcome back to the guest list, where I'm talking movies today with Mr. Eric Bana. Now, a bit of a congratulations on a role in a film in which you play a villain with scarier facial tattoos than Mike Tyson. I'm obviously talking about Star Trek.
Fire everything! That's what I'm talking about.
I think JJ is you know, one of the most exciting directors around at the moment, and I think he's a genius. You know, I think his mind operates on a level that he's so hard to keep up with, and he has so many ideas. And it was a great film to be a part of, and a hell of a lot of fun. I had a great time as Nero, and I got back to the world of prosthetic makeup, which I hadn't done for many, many years since I'd, you know, been working in sketch comedy. So I look forward to the next one. I think the next one will be really interesting.
Right, time to take a look at another movie that you've selected for us today, and that movie is the Sean Penn directed Into the Wild.
Big mountains, rivers, sky, and the wild. Wild. I think careers are a 20th century invention. Rather than love, than money, give me truth.
This one's a little different because I'd read the book and I enjoyed the book, but there was something about it that annoyed me. And then when I saw the film, I felt like Sean Penn had far better encapsulated that story and that experience.
Is there anybody here? Guess not!
I'm a bit of a lover of cinematography and editing and, you know, the whole package. So whenever I see something like that where I literally got to the end of that film and felt like that must have taken 2 years to edit. Like, I was so impressed with the way he'd put all those elements together, and I'm a firm believer in music being really important, and obviously he's got a great relationship with Eddie Vedder, and that comes through in the film as well.
Let me feel I'm falling, I am falling safely to the ground.
And I thought the performances again were great. I love the story, and I felt like he really got a handle on that isolation and that unexplainable thing that someone has inside them to want to do what the central character in that film does. And I just think it's a really beautiful film, really well told, you know, with a little bit of restraint but a bit of flair as well. I just think it's a great film.
It's amazing to look at. I mean, Sean Penn, like you say, did a fantastic job directing it. Now, he's an actor by trade who's moved into directing. You've directed this documentary. Could you see yourself in the future maybe directing a piece of fiction, something on a much bigger scale like this?
I don't read scripts with an eye to direct. I don't read scripts thinking, oh, I could do that. So it would probably be something pretty small and simple in its premise. I would never say never. If I had an idea that I wanted to write or co-write with someone, it'd be something I'd like to do again one day.
Now, Mel Gibson, another fantastic Australian actor, he was a starting point for you deciding you wanted to become an actor. I'm right in thinking that, wasn't I?
It was one of the sort of moments, I guess, in my childhood that sort of helped me sort of connect the dots between what I felt like I wanted to do and then identifying with something that for whatever reason had a kind of visceral impact. Yeah, so the first Mad Max film had a huge impact on me, definitely.
And of course, I mean, word on, if I might use some street lingo, they're planning on making the fourth one at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like they're in pre-production back in Australia, so it's really exciting.
But Mel Gibson no longer part of it. Would you like to cameo? Would you like to take a role?
I don't know about cameo. It looks like one of your countrymen, Tom Hardy, looks like doing it, which is great.
Of course, yeah.
I'm sure the next instalment will be something pretty special.
Right, it is time for the final movie on your list today, and I'm pleased to say it's my second favourite movie of all time that you've picked, and that is The Shining.
What is in 1237?
Nothing. But you ain't got no business going in there anyway.
Whenever you come in here and interrupt me, you're breaking my concentration. You're distracting me.
I love it. What is it about the film that you like?
Probably the same reasons as you, Alex.
Yeah.
Well, obviously Jack Nicholson, you know, in the centre of a beautifully shot and composed film.
I'm not gonna hurt you. Stay away from me! Wendy! Stay away! Darling! Light of my life! I'm not gonna hurt you. You didn't let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in.
I think it's one of those films that it's impossible to encapsulate. There's something really magical about it, there's something really eerie about it. It does to me feel like a film that was made by a handful of people. There's something really intimate about that film that does feel like perhaps just half a dozen people got together with all the time in the world and created this and found a location and came up with this, you know, incredible film.
Another thing about The Shining that I wanted to touch on was...
Volkswagen Beetle, opening titles.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't even thought of that.
It's a subliminal thing. Volkswagen Beetle, windy road through the countryside, helicopter shot. I mean, pretty much you're done at that point, Alex.
I haven't seen past that. Is there more?
Is it yellow?
Yes. It's a very earthy, natural colour. I've watched this film too many times.
Okay.
The hotel they used for the movie, the Timberline Lodge, actually exists.
Whereabouts?
It's in Oregon, in the States, and the exterior shots they used of this hotel. And I just find it amazing that a hotel... I can't believe Kubrick would have ever gone, by the way, the movie's about people dying, death, blood in elevators, can we use your hotel? Sure, that's got to be the worst PR for that hotel
I don't think that's how he described it. I don't think that would have been the pitch to the hotel owner.
What do you think he said?
Good for tourism, your hotel's going to look beautiful, spacious, somewhat eerie perhaps, but enigmatic and memorable. I think would have been along those lines.
Like he was an estate agent.
Yeah.
Don't call it morbid, call it interesting.
Interesting and memorable.
Yeah. Do you want to play the Kubrick game? There's a fascinating piece of trivia about all Kubrick movies, which is that every single Kubrick movie has a pivotal scene that is set in a bathroom.
2001? Does that have a bathroom scene? I don't think.
It's not on my bloody list. I've got one for every other Kubrick movie. Come on, let's pretend you
Hang on, maybe there is there towards the end. When he's in the kind of pseudo-dream sequence, isn't there someone standing in the bathroom doorway, perhaps?
I'm going to go with it. Jack Nicholson improvised a line where he breaks down the door.
Here's Johnny.
Now, I've always wondered, because you come from a stand-up comedy background, which is obviously a lot of interacting with the audience, ad-libbing. Do you ever feel the need to ad-lib in a movie? Do you like that kind of improvisational skill, which seems to come mainly from stand-up comedians? Because I know you're a Richard Pryor fan as well, and he obviously did that in his movies.
How far can we go? What time of the night is this on?
Go for it.
My latest improv was in Funny People this year, where my wife confesses to me that she missed out on the role that Cameron Diaz took in The Mask, to which my ad-lib response was, Cameron Diaz. That was my latest contribution to the world of ad-lib, only because Judd Apatow allowed me to. But it only ever is allowed, you know, when you're working with a director who encourages and welcomes that. You know, some freak out at the thought, some love it. I much prefer an environment where you can at least experiment with it. I don't care if it hits the floor, you know, but just, you know, allow me the stupidity of trying something stupid on the day. So I do enjoy the ability to occasionally ad lib.
I have one final question for you. It's something I'm fascinated by, but what is your vote for the greatest cinematic automobile of all time? I mean, what we've got a list, you know, there's the Batmobile, the Ford Torino from Starsky and Hutch, or indeed Mad Max's Interceptor.
Well, for me, it's Max's Interceptor because I was already into Falcon coupes, but I think Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's got to be up there. I haven't drilled down on the technical specifications of what that car actually is, whether it's an old Bentley or whatever it is, but I do like the Challenger in Vanishing Point. It's a great car movie. I'm also a fan of the old dusty 1955 Speedster in 48 Hours that Eddie Murphy retrieves from the car park. That's a beautiful car. How
about this one? I'm going to throw you mine, see what you make of this. Yep. It's the Bandit black Pontiac Firebird Trans Am, Smoking the Bandit.
The original black
Burt Reynolds.
Eagle on the bonnet.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool car. In fact, Alex, if I was you, I reckon we're on the cusp now of that being a really good investment.
Yeah?
Seriously, because they're still very well priced. I suggest getting on eBay, snapping one up, because I think 5 years from now, you look back on this and say, I should have bought one. I should have bought one at 25. Now they're 75.
Maybe as an investment. I mean, I don't know how much time you've spent in London, but that's a fairly wide car.
I'm not saying drive it.
No, okay.
I use the word investment.
Right, okay.
You know.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
Come round, look at that.
Yeah.
Shall we take it out? We can't get it further than the end of the drive. It's
a speculative share market thing, really.
Yeah. That's it's a business proposition. Eric Bana, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Cheers.
mate. So there you have it, the genuinely lovely Eric Bana with 4 of his favourite films, and that is it for this week's guest list. But I'll see you in 7 days when we move from a Hulk to a bat. Don't miss that. Oh, and on a personal note, if you could not mention to anyone about the fact I used to wear thick wool tights under my trousers at primary school, that'd be swell. See you later.